Yeah, I couldn't wait. Hey, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 2 of Blue Lock, or Japan's Next Top Striker. I don't know, whatever ego RuPaul wants. So, I kind of fell head over heels for the last episode because it's so bizarre and weird, and I'm kind of all about it. I'm ready to pump that blue Kool-Aid into my veins and get some more of that Blue Lock, but yeah, I'm so ready for it. I watched the first episode a few days ago and was like, am I really gonna wait a week? No, I'm not. So that's where I'm at. I'm super excited. The last episode we had our first maxi challenge with Isagi, and Isagi, in proving himself as a potential striker of fortitude that ego should be paying attention to, didn't go after the one easy guy. He went after Kira, who's the most powerful in the group, and supposedly knocked him out. Now, like I said last episode, I don't believe that Kira's going anywhere except out of that room. I think that in true RuPaul fashion, they're going to become a pork chop, be the first to go, but they're not going to leave the competition. They're going to go to a different room of other pork chops or first eliminated, and those are all gonna work their way back up as well, like they got something to prove, right? I went to a big spiel about it last episode. I'm super excited. So I haven't talked a whole lot about it on Patreon. I've been trying to wait until the episode comes out because I kind of went crazy with the discussion last week. However, some people have been asking if they wanted me to know, this is before episode 1 came out on Patreon, they wanted to know if I wanted to know voice actors. And I was like, no, I recognize Kamiya because his voice is pretty iconic. He's easy for me to recognize. The others I don't recognize as well, so hopefully in the comments people will be telling me who the voice actors are. But I don't know if I'm saying Ego's name right, because somebody in the Discord was saying that they say it Ego. I'm going to pay attention and see if it's Ego or Ego. But there was this meme where they put him on the box of Ego waffles, which is a brand of waffles. And now I'm just going to picture his bowl cut reminds me of Dexter from, it reminds me of, from Dexter's Laboratory, the cartoon show. It reminds me of Mandark. Mandark is who Ego's bowl cut reminds me of, but anytime I think of the word ego, I think of waffles. So I'm probably just going to call him Ego because he's trying to get a bunch of strikers to be egoists. So his name being Ego is kind of it's like when a lawyer named Lawler, it comes around. It's like, well, you kind of were born to have this position. So makes sense, right? But he's such a kooky character. I really like him. I like Isagi. He's a very interesting main character. We don't know a whole lot about Isagi. We were just kind of thrust into the first episode. So I'm curious to see what all we're going to get out of him. I really like Kira. I really like Isagi. This one guy's name starts with a B, like Barihara or something. The one that's the monster, that's crazy. I like him a lot, and I like Buff Ichigo, who has the red hair. But yeah, I'm very curious to know what's going to happen in this episode. They're all kind of in a little box together, in a little cohort in a little room. So much like my favorite sports anime, Ace of the Diamond, there's a good chance that, well, with the exception of Kira, because he's out of here, there's a good chance that these characters will bond over time. And you know what other series promotes bonding amongst its players? Have a look. Hi, it's Romania Black. And in today's episode of Blue Lock, we learned about Team Z and them living together in the Blue Lock dorms. You know another sports anime series who has its teammates live together in dorms and bond and form camaraderies? Ace of the Diamond. In this series, its members too share dorm rooms, and they become better friends and teammates together. Now, whether or not that'll happen in Blue Lock, who knows? But if you don't want to wait to find out, you can read Ace of the Diamond and see it happening right now. Now, back to the reaction. Sorry, I have to promote that series. It's just part of my nature. I can't get around it. So yes, I'm excited, y'all, to see what all is going to go down this week for Blue Lock. But yeah, I've drank the Kool-Aid and there's no going back. So I want to become the Japan's Next Top Striker as well. So let's see what maxi challenges are up today. Let's see if there's any mini challenges. Let's see if, RuPaul Ego makes an appearance. That'd be great. So we are going to start Yield Blue Lock episode 2. I'm so excited. But we're going to start that here, y'all, in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. Well, this was an episode. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm liking Blue Lock a lot. I feel like this episode did a really good job of being the episode right after the pilot. Usually episode 2 I'm always leery of, because sometimes in an anime series, the second episode you have a really awesome pilot and you're like setting all this stuff up, and then episode 2 kind of like scales it back a little bit and kind of dips a little bit, and you're like, But this one definitely kept my attention because there was a lot going on. There are a lot of things in Blue Lock happening. My big thing is, I feel like we talked in the reaction about how Ego is essentially Shinji from Bleach mixed with L from Death Note. I think another thing he has in common with L from Death Note is he must be loaded, because I feel like either he is loaded or Thierry is loaded. And I'm like, I'm already shipping the both of them. They're both manic, crazy people who are obsessed with soccer, obsessed with making like the best strikers for soccer. And they're like, this is the project. And they both like seem on the same wavelength. And I mean, girl, look, Thierry is super pretty. She's like so pretty. And Ego, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But she's crazy too. So I'm like, girl, you get your crazy. If you and him need to hook up and get your crazy out, I'm here for it. And then we get the other guy from the OP with like the aquamarine eyes and like the magenta hair. And I'm like, what a combo. He's interesting. He's already a professional player, and he could possibly play with Isagi or another striker. Okay. All right. We're building things up. I'm excited. There's some things I want to talk about that I'm kind of really excited about that are a little bit different than other sports anime that has me really excited to go into them. But yeah, so we get this really cool OP. I'm here for it. I'm digging it. And then I like Bachira. Bachira has grown on me. He's crazy, which 99% of the people in this show are crazy. But I really like Bachira. He strikes me as a fun character. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to see play off of Isagi, because he's so, like, instinct-driven. And Isagi's still, like, the monster's there. We'll talk about the monster. But he's very instinct-driven, and I feel like Bachira, like, is trying to, like, bring that wild, raw energy out in him and not let him overthink things. So that's really fun. I like that a lot. So, monster. So we have all these tweets and stuff, right? They're talking about the Japanese team losing and saying a place in the quarterfinals slips from their grasp. Bitter disappointment. And it was 3-2 that they lost the game. So can we talk about how Thierry is like the only girl in this board cabinet meeting of these crusty old white guys? Well, I guess they're Asian. I guess they're Japanese. These crusty old guys, with the exception of like one man there that looks like he's maybe 40. She's like, if things carry on, then we're never going to be in the cup in a million years. Anri, Thierry Anri. I freaking love her. She's a new member of the team of the JFU. So let's talk about her. I like Thierry. Let me see here. I want to get her name right. Her name is spelled very weird. There's lots of vowels involved. Thierry Anri. I'm just going to call her Thierry. I really like her. She is the JFU new member. And she is working with, she is the Michelle Visage to Ego. Oh my God, she is! She's literally Michelle Visage to Ego's RuPaul. That's literally it. She's Ego's, basically Ego's Michelle Visage. Yep. She believes in the dream. Oh my God, this is amazing. If you don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race, then you'll probably not get a lot of these references, but it's okay. She's basically his right-hand man. Right-hand lady. And I get like the way these characters are designed, they like seem normal, and then they make a facial expression and they're all batshit crazy. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's very, very JoJo's-esque. And they're like, well, do you believe that we have a chance? She's like, yes, you money-grubbing rodent. It's like everything's on an 11 in this series. Either it's at like a 2 or an 11. There is no in between. It is either all or nothing with this series. And honestly, I'm living for it, but I can see some people being like, this is extreme. And it is, but it is that way by design. And she's like, we're never going to make it to the quarterfinals, much less win, if we don't do something. And they're like, well, you started this project, so you're the one who's going to be on the chopping block if things don't turn around. And she's like, I love that she's like, the only person who can do this is this man right here. I'm like, I am for it. Ego, I hope you are after this girl, because she is probably your only chance, you creepy mofo, of getting with anybody. So get with her. Like, she believes in you. She's like, he's got a plan, unless they turn out to be like siblings or something. So then we go back to Kira. Now, I said last episode I was going to be curious to see if Kira revealed like a dark side to him that is hidden deep within him. Oh, we saw it right off the bat. Like, we didn't have to waste much time to see Kira's, like, his true colors come out, because he's like, what just happened? And Isagi's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And Bashira's like, yeah, sure, you're sorry. But Isagi, what's so funny about this is that we're talking about monsters inside of you, and I've been talking about how, like, the monster standing atop the corpse, I feel like the version of Isagi that was standing atop the mound of corpses in the last episode that had the big hollowed out eyes that are in the OP, I feel like that's the shape that his monster takes. Like, Bashira's looks like this big mud monster that's like mixed with Medusa. And I feel like Isagi's is the creature or the version of him we saw in the last episode that's all black and white, that looks like Hollow Ichigo. This is essentially like a shonen sports battle anime, but they're like, we'll make it soccer. It is, right? Which I'm fine with. I'm happy with it. He's like, oh my gosh. And then I like that Ego comes on the screen. He's like, hey, losers lock off. You get out of here. Bye. He's like, you're disqualified, Kira Ryosuke. And Kira's just like, excuse me? Disqualified? I've never been disqualified from anything in my whole life. Like, those were the vibes. I was waiting to see if we'd get something under the surface, because last episode Kira seemed like he was just right as rain. Sunshine kid, not a sunshine boy, but he seemed like he was right as rain, and he was friendly and all this. And I was like, is this really him, or is it a facade? And I'm not saying it's not him. He could still be a nice guy, but the mask, the persona gets lifted off a bit, and we see that Kira is a little bit more selfish than he's let on before, because he's like, excuse me? He's like, I am not, like, just gonna get disqualified. I'm the top person in this room. He's like, this is bullshit. He's like, my future career should not be in tatters just because of a stupid game. And I'm like, well, you're playing soccer, which is just a game, right? He's like, I'm the Japanese soccer's jewel in the crown. That's the thing. Yeah, he's been the pretty boy that everybody's kind of been like at all the press conferences. And I'm like, first of all, you were number 288 out of 300. You were far from Japan's crown jewel. You were like, there was 271 people above you. And then second, not only that, but you also, you know, it's very subjective. They can move up the ranks. They established that in the last episode. You're telling me that Igaguri and Isagi-kun are more talented than me? I love that he, like, targets those two. Like, Igaguri, who I'm going to call probably by his first name because it's much easier to say. He's like number 300, and he's like, wow, my chopped liver, thanks, man. And Isagi's like, what did I do? You know, like, he just threw them under the bus. Like it was nothing. He threw them under the bus and was like, how dare you say they're better than me? He's like, why does this silly game of tag even matter? What does it have to do with soccer? And I like the ego's like, I don't have to tell you anything. This reminds me of RuPaul's Drag Race so much, because in RuPaul's Drag Race, you have literally usually 11 to 12 queens that are sandwiched into this room together, and they're all a bunch of big old egos, and they have to, like, somehow get along, but they're also vying to be number one, meaning that they can't win as a team. It's all about them working together, but they're winning by themselves. And then this felt like a moment where one of the queens would, like, mouth off to RuPaul, and RuPaul's like, I made this game. What, you're questioning me? Like, it just felt like one of those moments. And I love the ego just scratches his head like, in Blue Lock, everything has something to do with soccer, actually. And I feel like Mr. Mediocre Elite, I love it. I love him calling him Mediocre Elite. It's great. I feel like all of the posh country club people in my area, I should call them Mediocre Elite, because that's pretty much the same thing. What I love about it is, I'm like, Ego has spent all this time crafting this facility, whether he or Thierry's funds paid for it, or the Japanese government paid for it, we don't know. Regardless, he clearly put time and effort to make everything simulating some form of a soccer game or principle that needs to be learned. And he basically just schools Kira in, like, this first segment here, being like, look around you. This entire room is the size of a penalty box. essentially, right? It's the same size of the area you should be scoring in. All of your goals, 75%, are born within these confines. So if you can't do your work here, you shouldn't be here. I love that he's like, well, so what? I love that the ego's just like, and second of all, like he just like comes out and says, excuse me, you're the one running away. So you basically are using the same moves you would use in a soccer game in the little mini challenge that I just gave you, right? You had to be precise. It's an excellent soccer training drill, you wimp. I'm just like, he's like, I don't question my motives. I know what I'm doing, you plebeian. It's just, oh, it's great. He's like, how can you know anything about me in less than 2 minutes? A soccer match is 90 minutes. And he goes, well, actually, anytime a player that has the ball typically is only 2 minutes. So I just timed that out and gave you the opportunity. And what's so great about it is he tells him, he's like, if you were really focused in the moment, you would have taken that last second after you got hit and you would have hit Igaguri and into the game. But you didn't see that. It reminds me a lot of Kuroko's basketball in that series. In that series, there's lots of buzzer beaters. There's lots of last minute. In that series, the big lesson is you can't take anything with time for granted. So whenever you score a point and you have 2 seconds left, you can't think, oh, we won, because in those 2 seconds, a lot can happen and change the game. So it's like that principle from that sports anime is being applied to Blue Lock and saying, yeah, you had a second, you could have done something, but you didn't. So you wasted your time. I love it. I love that Ego calls him out. He's like, don't say this is stupid. You're not going to be the world's best striker if you can't, if you can't do that. And I like the idea of seeing them all on the field with the one guy that they say looks like a goalie is the goalie in this scenario. So that's kind of funny. But showing him playing against the others, and like the moment your teammate's shot hit you, you gave up and accepted defeat. I like the little look that Bachira gives him, like in the little simulation where Bachira's like, yeah. And it kind of mirrors how it was in the last episode. Bachira has a great design. I like his character a lot. He's like, that's why you didn't see it. You missed your chance at victory by not taking the extra step. He's like, you're not exactly the type we're looking for, so bye. Whoever holds it too long is the loser. A striker shoulders responsibility and fights until the very last second. I love it. It's great. And Isagi targeted someone ranked higher than him, not the fallen Igaguri. He's like, and Bachira, Meguru, stole the ball and went for the strongest guy. That's the type of attitude I'm looking for. That's the egoism I'm looking for. And then Kira's like, but he came at me. He came out of nowhere. Oh my God. And then we see the real Kira. That Kira's like, he loses his cool and looks absolutely insane. Oh my God, that ugly face, it's straight something out of like Bobobo or JoJo's or something. It's wild. And Isagiri's like, Isagi's like, oh, and he's like, just, nope, Kira is done. He is so pissed. He's so mad, which is so, I'm glad we're getting it now and not later, because the Kira from episode 1, I was like, are we really going to not figure out if he's really got a monster inside of him or not? But no, he is. He played the villain card like this episode, and it's great. I love it. And Asagi's like, oh God. And he's like, it can't be. And Asagi's like, oh God, shit, he's really awful. And then he leaves. He's like, did I just end Kira-kun's soccer career? But I don't think he did. I don't think he did. Now, the question is, they took 25 people off, right? So they have 5. What they have here, we found out in this episode that we have 5 little pods, right? And each of the pods have, there's 5 in there and 11 each. So there's 55 in each one, right? Which adds up to be 275. Meaning that there were 25 kicked out. Now, the question is, did those 25 actually leave, or what ends up happening? Or do the 25, we know Kira is not going to leave this game entirely, right? That's just not going to happen. So how does Kira get back in the game? My theory was the 25 that were kicked out were called pork chops, which means they're the first to go, and they're going to be off in a secluded area with the chance to work in RuPaul's Drag Race. Again, I can't believe somebody in the Discord said that there were others comparing this show to RuPaul's Drag Race, which makes me so excited. I'm not the only one that sees it. So in that show, you had the ones that are always the first to go are called the pork chops. They're first to go, they're kicked out. In some seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race, they have a challenge where one is offered the opportunity to go back into the game. One is given that option. So, since it doesn't look like there's a separate group of just the pork chops, my theory is that Ego is going to go to the ones that were kicked out and say, look, I'm going to give one of you the chance to get back in the game and prove yourself and prove that you didn't deserve to go home the first time. Are you up to it? And I think that Kira is going to be the one to get out of that group and rejoin the rest of them. However that works out. Now, that may not be the case. It may happen a totally different way, but I'm excited to see what might happen. But yeah, as of right now, there's 11 of them. They're on a team together, and I like the idea that, and Isagi's like, I just kicked him out. I should feel bad that he's left, but I don't. And I'm like, yeah, because that's kind of the thing. He's like, I don't feel bad. He's like, I'm excited that it's to make the best better, right? He's excited that he gets to move up. And I like that Bachira is like, I like Bachira and his dynamic already so much. And he's like, I gave you the ball because it was written all over your face. I knew you'd kick it. He's like, I believed in you and I won, right? So that's the thing I was talking about with the idea of teamwork. It's the idea of building that ego to equal that confidence that what you're going to do is going to be the winning shot, right? So in a very weird way, Bachira is saying, like, they kind of had this weird moment of teamwork where he's like, I believed in you and I knew you were going to kick it, so I gave it to you and we won. So I feel like part of this series is going to be developing in that self-confidence, the idea that you can work with others and you can trust them. So building that trust. Because so far, in the examples we've seen of the other teams, like in Bachira's past and in Isagi's past, they've had moments where they've not trusted their teammates because they didn't feel like it was the confident or right move to make. And it ended up causing them to lose. So I feel like a lot of this is developing team members that are going to be able to be confident enough to trust in one another to know that the shot is going to make and they're going to score with it. I think that's part of what Ego is doing. That's part of the mission, but we'll just have to see how much it goes through with it. And so then basically Ego talks about how all of the famous strikers right now, they put their lives on the line for their jobs every day. They're like, every day they worry about the game and how is this going to impact how I look, how our team looks, things like that. They're all egoists. He's like, did it make you go, yes, I survived? Are you shaken up? That's what victory feels like. Etch it into your brain. Now, I didn't say this last reaction, but Ego has like the crazy monster eyes, like what Isagi gets. So I'm wondering if Ego was a striker and he got injured or something happened and he can no longer be a striker. I guess we'll find out. But he wants them all to taste victory and to keep getting stronger. Every time you get a taste of victory, your ego is going to grow. And that will elevate you to the height of the world's greatest striker. So this is the beginning of Blue Lock. And so we have these chains. I've only seen one promotional material piece for this series before I started, but it had them with these chained collars on them, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, is there some kind of like weird S&M thing with this series? But no, it's metaphorical. That the Blue Lock is all metaphorical. It's there, it's figurative. You've passed the admission exam for the Blue Lock dorm. Now, I like the idea. I talked about in my Ace of the Diamond promotion at the beginning of this video. I love the idea. Ace of the Diamond so far has been the only series I've watched as a sports anime where, I guess Run with the Wind would be the other exception, where they are all together in one location. In Run with the Wind, they're in a house together. In Ace of the Diamond, they're all in dorms. And this is kind of the same dorm setup as well. It's just there's 11 altogether instead of like 3 to a room. Which is fun. I'm excited about it. He says, there are 11 of you in this room. You will be living together. So, okay. So we need to go through this and talk about each of the players. And so at times you'll work together and at other times you will betray each other. Fun times. So essentially each of these groups have an 11-person team. Okay. And so our first cohort that we see here, we have Kon. We have Kon Wataru. We have him. We have Raichi Jingo. Raichi is the one that can run really fast. So we have Kon can jump. Raichi can run. Then we have Iman. Iman's the one that they said looks like a goalie, right? We have Iman Okuhito. I'm going to tell y'all right now, remembering these names is going to be hard. Because there's a lot. There's 11 guys on this one team. To remember all the names, it's going to be hard. He's the one they said looked like the goalie. Iman. And then we have Imamura Judai. Imamura does not have, or Udai. Imamura does not have any distinctive features and has not really been prominent yet in this. He just has an earring. I don't see him lasting long in this group. He has not had many lines. But these Igarashi Garimu, we know him. I'm going to just say Garimo. We know Garimu. He was number 300 and now he's number 275. He's still last. We have Gagamaru Gin. Gagamaru Gin, who I'll probably call Gin. He has the dead eyes and the funky hair. I like Gin as a character. He's interesting. He seems very no-nonsense. Then we have Asahi. We have Naruhaya, Asahi. He was the one that got really excited when they passed, but he doesn't stand out too much either. The ones that kind of look similar, I'm like, I don't think you guys are going to last very long. Then we have the 3 that I think are going to last a very long time. And that is 8. We have Bachira. Megaru. I like Bachira a lot. He is the one that has the monster conversation with Isagi. Then we have Shigiri Hyoma. He's the one with red hair that looks like Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. I like his character design a lot. Then we have Buff Ichigo, who is Kunigami Rinsuke. And he is Buff Ichigo. And then we have Isagi. Yeah, this guy here, Asahi, Imamura, I don't see them lasting very long. I feel like Garimu is going to last for a little while longer, but I don't feel like those guys are going to last too long. The other ones seem to have very interesting designs, so I think they could last. But as this series has pointed out, Kira's already gone, so who knows what that means, right? I don't know. But I'm very interested. It's like you'll be rivals who wreck each other's dreams. Team Z. I just like the idea that they're rivals. It's like just an entire dorm filled with rivals and they're going to knock each other out one by one, which will make it very interesting as an environment. Again, RuPaul's Drag Race, they're all together. There's like 11 or 12 of them together in a workroom each week and they all become friends, but at the end of the day, they're all trying to knock each other out to win the crown. So it's, again, it's very much like that, right? We don't get into the Maxi Challenge in this episode, though. So we have a training room where we do all the stuff to test like their skills. We have a running room. We have the idea, and Raichi can run really fast. And oh my god, I love that poor Garimu's like just throwing up on the side. That's hilarious. Oh my god. And then we have Kon and jumping and all of that. Now the thing that's interesting is that based on their score is what they get to eat. This part is a little bit extreme. It's like you get rice and miso soup, but the add-ons depend on your rank. So he gets like natto, and then the other guy gets like, what did he say he got? Yeah, he got natto, your side dish. And he's like, oh, God, no. And he's like, oh, that must be nice. I got pickled radish. It's like, And then the other ones get like the higher up ranked you get, the better food you get. Which is, it's weeding people out one by one. It's like we're going to weed out until the strongest survive. It's also like an incentive that if you want to get better food, you do better, which is a little bit extreme. I don't know if there'd be parents that'd be like, wait, what is my kid getting to eat? I don't know. And then Geen is just like eating like a caveman. And that's when Yudai comes up and takes his food. Yudai might end up lasting longer than I think he does, because he at least is doing something with the plot, right? We'll see. And he's like, give it back, Pipsqueak. His hair is also like slowly growing back, right? And then we have the sleeping arrangements between all of them. Okay, there's also Area Y over there, so we got to see a couple others from the other teams looking out there. We have somebody sleeping inside their bed. They're like, you can't even see them. Poor Garimu is like just completely ditched the clothing and is just like all over the place. Yudai has like, it looks like a matchbook or a tiny book. And then we see them all and how they sleep. Interesting. And so then, yeah, Isagi can't sleep, and so he goes to practice, and Bachira is there too. They don't have shoes or socks on while they're playing soccer, and I guess at first I was like, well, that kind of sucks because you don't get, I mean, your feet would be raw, I would assume, especially if it's turf. But I think that's the point, is just to get your feet like trained to moving, and then you'll get the shoes and socks later, and you won't feel like it's been all that much work. But what's interesting is Bachira talks about the monster inside of him. And what's so fascinating about this is that there's the monster that saves him, and he doesn't seem to care too much about the other players on his team. And he says, the monster talks to me and tells me what to do, and it told me to pass the ball. When he gets like right up into Sagi's face, I was like, is this a shippable moment? I felt like this was a shippable moment. The only ones I feel that it's safe to ship at this point in episode 2 are Ego and Thierry. I think that they're like ship them for days. She's like Dark Ray. I love her. But I don't know. I guess you could immediately ship Bachira and Isagi. I was originally shipping Isagi and Kira, but Kira's gone now. So I don't know. Maybe Bachira and, I mean, you have blue and yellow, those polar colors, the primary colors. I wonder if them and Chigiri will be, since he's red, will get to stay being in the top 3 since they're the primary colors. We'll see. But I do kind of ship, Bachira with Isagi a little bit. They have some good moments here. What's fascinating is the idea of the monster. Usually in any other series, like in a shonen series, in a sports anime series, they'd be like, oh, be careful of the monster inside of you. Be careful it doesn't overtake you. It could lead to your destruction, blah, blah, blah. Here, Bashira's like, oh, the monster's a good thing. And Isagi's like, I kind of want to meet the monster inside of me. And I'm like, what is happening? I was like, why are we encouraging the monster? But that's just how this series is. And he says all the famous soccer players have a monster too. He's like, and Isagi's like, I want to meet the monster inside of me. Maybe finding that out will give me a clue on how to survive Blue Lock. I'm like, oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. The question is, has Kira accessed his monster yet? Because it seems like he has. And so he's like, I'm glad I came here because I got to meet you. I love Bashira. Is just so interesting. He's like crazy, but he also like wants to play with Isagi and get stronger with him. And I feel like Bashira, kind of like Isagi, has drank the Kool-Aid, and he's like, yes, we're both here because we know we want to make it to the top and we know we're capable of it. So let's do that. And I'm like, all right. All right. I'm here for it. Sure. And then they go back to the rankings. Now, everybody else, we see this. We go back and see what everybody's rankings have become, right? And they want to figure out, like the one guy, Yudai. I guess Yudai will probably stick around because he's hanging out with Geen and hanging all over him. So he'll probably be fine. This Asahi guy, I don't know about him though. And then we get the idea that his rank's gone up 266. Interesting. All right. So I find it fascinating that we're in the bottom group out of all of them, right? Eventually, according to the rules set aside with this series, eventually only Isagi is going to make it out of this alive. That's kind of what's interesting is I feel like this season, I didn't know the trajectory of this season and how far we would get. This premise alone is setting up for a very long series because you not only have to get out of your cohort, it's kind of set up this way. The top five, I'm assuming are going to be the A team because we started with B through Z. If you notice, we didn't start with the top 5 is going to be our A team. So we started out with 300, and then we had 5 groups of 11, meaning 55 times 5. Okay, so we had 275 left. But now we're trying to get the top 11 out of those. So of the 275, we're going to narrow that down to 5 groups of 11. So we're going to end up taking only 1 team from each pod, right? So of the 55 groups, we're going to only have, of the 55 groups, we're only going to end up with 11. So we're going to like chop off a lot to end up with 275 down to 55 people, right? And then from those 55, we somehow have to get down to 5. And that's what we've got to do. So, interesting. So we're going to go down from 55 teams to 11 teams. I wouldn't be surprised if from 11 teams, we go down to 5 teams. And then from those 5 teams, we go down to 1. 1 from each. 1 from each. Right now, we're only up to this part here. We know we're going to get down to 11 teams. I think from there, we're going to whittle down to 5 teams and then take 1 from the top 5 teams, and they're going to be our A team. That's what I think is going to end up happening. But that could lead to a lot. Now, do I think that we're going to get all the way there at the end of the season? Hell no. No. I feel like we are only going to get to the top team of the 11. I feel like the goal is for Isagi's team to be one of the 11 by the end of this season. I feel like our goal is to face the 4 other teams in this block and be the top team. I feel like that's the goal for this season, right? And then from there, for future seasons, we would develop it more, right? I feel like that's what the case is going to be, right? I feel like that's it. That's our goal, is for our team to beat the other 4. He's like, look, my rank shot up. I feel bad for him because he's like, my rank didn't actually improve at all. And I like the ego is like, the environment's crummy because your soccer skills are crummy. Duh. I feel it's interesting that ego checks in with each group just to see how everybody's doing, being like, hey, how's it going, guys? What's up? And so he says, yes, in the facility, there's 25 teams from B to Z. They're split into 5 groups, 1 per building. So you guys are V, W, X, Y, and Z. Those are those teams. Okay. Makes sense. And so we're like 1 per building. And by the way, each team lost 1 person after the game of tag, so there's 75 players left. Uh-huh. He's like, so I'm dead last again. Oh, no. He's like, you guys are actually ranked the lowest out of all of them. Interesting. I like Quone is the one to calm everybody down. Quone's like, no, it's fine. Then we see these other teams and what they're doing. They have like smorgasbords and high training facilities and like aqua therapy and like all this shit. But we don't have that. He's like, you get to go to better buildings the more you train. It's like, in here, the best soccer player is king. And I don't know why there's pictures of like families and couples and stuff. I'm like, ego, what are we doing? But if you want to win a better environment, you got to win your way up. So he says the first selection is going to begin. And I like Isagi's like questioning face of like, I like his eyebrow raise. It's great. Then after this, we see Itoshi Saikun, a genius midfielder in the academy of one of the top clubs, Royale. So we meet in here Itoshi Sai. Itoshi Sai is a midfielder. All right. He is not a striker. He's a midfielder. And we have Nephi, he's like a Soccer Direct reporter interviewing him. And he looks kind of like, before he realized his hair is magenta, the side profile made him look like Ren from Free. I was getting excited. He's like, you were a genius midfielder, but regulations stopped you from playing in the first team, so you returned to Japan. I wonder what the regulations were. So are you going to play in the domestic league? And then he's like, over my dead body. If I have to play like a country in this, I'd rather play with college kids in Germany. Yikes. So he's one of the world's 11 heroes of the new generation. Okay, so he's on Japan's team, right? He's one of Japan's 11 heroes. Or he's one of the 11 heroes on like the national stage, the new generation, Itoshi Sai. But he's like, none of these strikers are worthy of my passes. And that's when he stumbles across the presentation that Thierry is making. I love it. I love Thierry is just like, she goes all in to give her presentation. Girl's like got the power suit on, has the hair up, got the earrings. She is ready to go. I'm like, yes, please, girl. Get it, girl. I love that she gets like on this and then she's like, we're either going to do it or we're going to lose. Mic drop. Bye. I also love that the guy for the JFU was like, oh, well, the parents signed a consent form. They signed away their children. It's not our fault. She's like, we need this crazy project moving forward. I just freaking love Thierry. She's so good. And she's like, we're waiting for the hero of Japanese soccer to be born. So, meanwhile, basically what we're doing is it will involve 55 of you in building 5. So it's a 5-team round robin. Yep, so it's basically a tournament. Only the top 2 teams will move on to the second selection in the survival match. Okay, so the top 2 teams move on, not just the top 1 team. So the top 2 teams. Okay, well, hell, if Kira ends up being on one of those other teams, I don't think we're going to wait till the end of this season to see Kira again. No. But I feel like I'm curious how Kira got back in the game and how he ended up on one of the other teams when he was kicked out. I'm curious about that. So maybe a kid got sick and suddenly couldn't play anymore. Maybe somebody broke a bone in the game of tag and like 2 people broke their bone and there was a shot he could come in. I don't know. But the top 2 teams get to go on to, I'm assuming, season 2. And I feel like that's going to be Isagi's team as well as Kira's team. That's my guess. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. The 11 of us are a proper team. And I like that they immediately start talking about positions to play. And it's mainly the idea of how many of them are versatile and have played other positions. But then Ego says, you know, at the very beginning, soccer was just strikers. That's all we had. And then as we played the game, the rules got more and more complicated. He's like, at its core, soccer is just striking. It's just getting the ball to the goal. He's like, so let's not forget that. He's like, don't get caught up in what position you are. Just move the ball forward. I love it. I love it. I think it works out great. I'm here for it. And then they talk about all the positions they play. I like that Isagi doesn't offer up any other position but striker because that's his character. He's like, no, I'm going to be a striker. And there's no other bones about it. He's like, play soccer as it was originally. Create soccer from zero with your brains. And I honestly, with what Ego is suggesting, I get that because I coach speech right now and it's collegiate. And there's a lot of students that did high school speech that have gotten into certain habits. And as a coach, I'm kind of like, okay, college doesn't work that way with speech, so you can't do that anymore. So a lot of the times, it's often better to come at collegiate speech from scratch because you've not developed these bad habits from high school that aren't going to necessarily be in the collegiate world. So I get what Ego's saying, like erase what you know, start from the ground up, start the right way, and just get on board with this, right? He's like, we've improved over the last quarter century. And it shows like their first World Cup victory was in 2002. 2010 was top 16. So in 2002, they won the World Cup, but they have not since then, right? It's been like 20 or so years. She's like, now it is time to dream a new dream for soccer. And Ego's like, abandon what you believed to be common sense until now and start fresh and shove some new notions into your brains. I just love Ego. He's so crazy. We need Japan to become the best in the world. This isn't the teamwork of 11 players. I love he just like shoves the glass up and it's almost like he's flipping off the camera. He's like, we need one hero. Not 11 teammates. We need y'all to step up your game. One person's play can change a team, a country, even the world. So it's kind of like what he's saying is like, yeah, everything you've known about teamwork and everybody working together to make each other better. He's like, no. What you need to do is make yourselves the best you can be, and then the teamwork and stuff will all come along with that. Again, we're making an Inashiro. That's what we're creating. We are creating an Inashiro team of soccer. I did like this line from Thierry, though, where she said the main characters are not us adults who have forgotten how to dream. I was like, oh my God, that's such a poignant line. I love that. They're not us, but rather the youngsters who are still nobodies, who have all these dreams. Do you have the courage to dream a new dream of winning the World Cup? And she's like, that's all there is to it. And they're like, it's in blue lock. And I like they have Ego with the bags under his eyes, his glasses, and his perfectly square teeth. And then you have Thierry and her fiery passion. I'm like, get these two together right now. And then she's like, the press conference over. And she just steps up and leaves. I'm like, get it, girl. I love it. I love Thierry. She's like, no nonsense. She's just like, mic drop, time to go. Bye. And then we have old Itoshi. And Itoshi is like, oh, I want to see what kind of idiot's going to be born in this country with my own eyes. So I wonder if he's going to get involved. I wonder if he's going to request from Thierry to go and play against or with the people at Blue Lock to see like if he's compatible with them or not. I'm curious. I feel like he's going to want to get involved because he's super curious now. And then we have everybody going out in the field. And the first group we're playing is Team X. And the only one that I recognize from Team X is the guy with the funky X into his big old pompadourish fuzzy hairdo there. He's the only one I remember from the first episode. So fun times. He's going to be fun to face. I'm excited to see this. But yeah. And then we have the little shorts where Bashira and him are trying to like, they're done with training and they're like lost. It's called Lost in Prison. What? Now, did the first episode have one of these? I don't recall. I'm very sad if it did. I'm going to have to go back and check that one out if it did. He's like, which is our room again? And he's like, well, if we try all the doors, we'll eventually find it. And apparently there's like room, training room, dressing room, the bedroom, bathroom, boiler room, room. The structure doesn't make any sense. It's like, what is happening? No. He's like, the map says it's over here, but it's all very hard to navigate. I want to go back real quick and see if episode 1 had one of those little extras at the end of it. Did it? It did! Oh, I missed it! Oh, no! Oh, no! Hold on. When we get there, I want to see what this is. We got like a little extra. Oh, no! Isagi Yoichi's dream. Hold on. I am going to actually pull this up and record this, and I'm going to put it at the end of the reaction here to show this. It's now. Okay. That all makes sense. So yeah, interesting. Okay. That all makes sense now. Basically, his parents are like, wow, your grades weren't very good and you're obsessed with soccer, so you were really lucky that you were chosen for this project. You don't have a lot of prospects outside this project, so... Also, his dad's name is Issei, which is similar to Ishin, I think of the dad in Bleach, so that's funny. But yeah, that was super cute. Okay. All right, well, now I need to know. I'll have to make a comment for episode 1. Now I need to know that there's going to be a little short at the end of each episode, so that's good to know. Good thing there. But yeah. So I really really, really enjoyed this episode. It was definitely explaining more about the concepts and what's going to be happening with our crew. But now that we've laid out the foundation of everything that's going down and how it's all going to pan out, I'm excited for the matches. I can't wait to see what Bashira and Isagi are going to do, what the other characters are going to do, and what's happened with Kira. That is the big mystery, isn't it? So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but I hope you all enjoyed this episode and reaction. I thought it was really, really good. So we'll see what happens next week, won't we? In the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Blue Lock.